3, 2, 1. Fire. Ukrainian multiple launch rocket systems decided to throw a heavy caliber fireworks show for the Russians and blanket their positions in fire. Ukraine's arsenal is a real mixed bag, including the RM70 Vampire, APR40, BM21 Uragan, and BM21 Grad. But don't be fooled by their raw firepower. Behind every barrage, there are hidden issues, and one of the biggest is age.
She's from 1981. Old girl, breaks down. We're constantly maintaining her. The care she gets. I don't even treat my wife this well at home.
Today, Ukrainian soldiers are going to answer the big question. Are these MLRS systems old but gold, or is it time to scrap them? As always, the answer's waiting at the end of the video. The Russians outnumber Ukrainian forces in both manpower and vehicles. So the Czech-made RM70 Vampire doesn't get much rest. It's working overtime.
Sometimes 5, sometimes 10, maybe 20, or even 40 rockets. It all depends on what's going on over there. If they've got a lot of armor or infantry, we fire off all 40. If it's just a small group, maybe 20 or less, we've engaged 14 times against different targets. The number of rockets used was different every time.
This system, like the others in this video, isn't exactly known for precision. That's why the crews only use it on high-value targets, covering entire areas where the enemy might be.
MLRS is only used on group targets, columns, concentrations of enemy personnel, or for example, if our recon finds a warehouse, that's what we strike. We don't go after individual soldiers.
The Russians were pulling in reserves to launch a new assault. Bad timing, because suddenly 122mm rockets started raining down on their heads.
They ran. They were destroyed. Whatever they were planning, it failed. Maybe they were about to storm us or gathering up for something. But it didn't work out, because artillery, in my opinion, did a damn good job.
Because of non-stop assaults, the RM70 Vampire barely ever sees a garage. It stays right near the front line, to slow down Russian advances and make life a little easier for Ukraine's infantry.
The Russians are active every day, but their mindset is like, we've got an objective. Obstacles don't matter, so 10 guys go in. They get wiped out, then 10 more go in, and they'll keep pounding until they break through. There's no such thing as stopping or not stopping. If they try here and it doesn't work, they hit again. 3, 4, 5 assaults, and if they still don't break through, they shift to another tree line. That's how it is on the front, constant. It's called a creeping offensive.
Hit the like button so YouTube pushes this video to more people. That way, more viewers can see what war looks like, without filters. Still, every day the crew risks their lives. A big target like the RM70 Vampire is a top priority for Russian drones, and they're not stingy with their FPVs. Ukrainian troops laugh it off. This is just another day at the office.
Not scary to stand out in the open in the Vampire like that? We're used to it. Feels like home now.
To keep the crew safe from shrapnel, the Czech Tatra chassis features light armor and better off-road handling. Those two things give the team a bit more confidence when under fire.
It's more maneuverable, better off-road, and the cabin has armor. It's built from steel, solid cabin, better crew protection.
And in real combat, that steel cabin plus a quick reacting driver can make the difference between life and death.
The guys have been under fire, but the cabin held. 122mm rounds hit nearby. Even 152 landed close, but nothing punched through. One vehicle, the door got bent, I think, but not penetrated. The steel didn't crack.
Its wheelbase and protection give the RM70 Vampire an edge over similar systems, and here's why.
Through this Donbass mud, driving a Grad would have been way tougher, but this one keeps going until the end. You could blow a tire, rear or center, but it still rolls. It'll keep moving. And the armored cabin helps too. Even just a little, it saves you from shrapnel.
Another nice bonus, the hydraulic dozer blade, which lets crews dig in and avoid getting spotted too easily.
You can dig in with the blade. Just lower it, carve out a spot, and roll into your makeshift firing pit.
Sometimes the crew pulls off 6 combat runs in one day. They work non-stop, without proper rest. There's no other option, because peaceful cities lie behind them, and someone has to keep them safe.
We were firing full salvos, 40 rockets at a time. Back then, we had tons of ammo in the depot. One day I fired 240 rounds. That's 5 or 6 full loads.
This RM70 Vampire crew has its own method that helps them get the job done. The secret's simple: move fast and don't get exposed. Here's how it works in practice.
If the target's nearby, no long drive, we're talking 9 minutes total. Target comes in, we jump in the truck, roll to the pre-picked position. We fire. The whole field burns. Wheat scorched in a perfect circle. Doesn't matter if the aim was wide or tight. The burn gives us away. The drones spot it and start tracking us. So we try to fire downward, right into the soil. Regular black earth. That way we're harder to see.
Before we go any further, subscribe to the channel. We cover a ton of fascinating stuff about modern weapons and the brutal reality of today's war. After Russia's full-scale invasion, Ukraine's rocket artillery part got a serious boost, with vehicles arriving from both Western allies and former socialist countries. Among the more exotic additions was the Romanian APR40, which can be considered a counterpart to the Soviet BM21 Grad. But calling it identical would be a mistake. There are quite a few differences.
There's a big difference, honestly. On the BM21 Grad, the sighting system is mounted below the launch pod on a folding bracket, meaning you can aim it while standing on the ground. But here, it's mounted directly on the pod, and you can only operate it while sitting in position.
The Grad lets the gunner stand. The APR40? The designers built a dedicated seat for him.
The gunner sits right here, works the sighting system. The main firing direction is called out by the guy on the compass. Then we align the pod based on the compass bearing, so we can fire in the right direction.
During training, the crew had to brush up on their Romanian, since none of the controls are labeled in any other language.
It's all in Romanian, but we memorized what's where, right, left, what to switch. Like one way activates the hydraulic drive for fast, rough aiming. The other way switches to the electric drive for fine adjustments. Same for up, down, left, right.
Another difference between the APR40 and the much more common BM21 Grad is maintenance. The Romanian system is more complicated to service.
They look similar on the outside, but for example, this panel with the contact block is not on the Grad. So if we're servicing the rails, greasing, cleaning with the Grad, we don't need to remove anything to quickly check or clean the launch tubes. But here, you have to remove this whole panel to do maintenance.
There's another curious detail you'll notice during loading. To avoid overheating the launch system, the designers came up with a special firing sequence.
This chart shows the loading order of the tubes. Each rail has its own number, so that the rockets fire in a staggered pattern. They don't all go off one after another. They launch from different spots to balance the pod, so the vehicle doesn't rock too hard. Also, if rockets fire one after another from the same area, the tubes overheat. This way, one fires, then another, while the previous section has a chance to cool down.
The commander controls the fire from inside the vehicle. Here's what his workspace looks like. The person responsible for throwing a fiery party at Russian positions.
This is the commander's seat. Here's the fire control panel, the electric distributor. We set the number of rockets on this counter. This switch controls the launch. Here we toggle between automatic and manual modes. And here, using this key, we can set either manual fire or timed intervals, seconds and milliseconds, for staggered rocket release.
Now, this is what Romanian engineers call attention to detail. Inside the cabin, there's a built-in thermos. It's a small thing, but honestly, it's kind of nice.
I take it the Romanians added that? Yeah, it's standard. It's even listed in the manual. We rarely use it, but it has to be there. And it is.
When choosing the chassis, the designers went with something originally built for civilian use. That decision came with both advantages and drawbacks. Here's the main upside.
This artillery system sits on the chassis of the DAG 665T truck. Originally, this chassis was designed for civilian, multi-purpose use. They chose it for the military because of its maneuverability. If you compare it to the Ural, for example, the Ural is stiff, short wheelbase. But this one's got a high suspension travel, which helps it glide over uneven terrain. It's all-wheel drive, 6x6, and both rear axles have differential locks. So yeah, it's a better ride and much more capable off-road.
Unfortunately, Ukrainian crews ran into some tough realities. Finding spare parts for this chassis is a serious challenge.
The downside? It's hard to find parts when it breaks, and they break pretty often. They're old.
Worse still, some critical components are no longer being manufactured, basically impossible to source, so the crews have to improvise.
Лагодили. Було таке, що виходили дуже
Yeah,
важливі.
we've had to fix stuff. We've had some really important components go down, and they're nearly impossible to find. The factory doesn't exist anymore. Parts are basically non-existent. But thanks to the skill of our logistics teams, our mechanics, and the crews themselves, we're keeping these machines alive and in the fight.
On the bright side, training was a breeze. The basic design is very similar to older Soviet-era equipment, so the crew adapted quickly.
Вона більш прохідна, як на мене.
As far as mobility goes, the APR40 is a good machine. It drives smoothly, better off-road in my opinion. As for the artillery system, it's a bit simpler on the BM21 Grad. But when it comes to targeting, the aiming devices are basically the same as the Grads. The design is similar. You get used to it fast, and then you just work.
Now, the next hero in our lineup has earned its status as an MLRS, wrapped in military legends. Meet the mighty and intimidating Soviet BM27 Uragan. Rumor has it, the Uragan needs 2 drivers to handle its roaring engines.
That whole 2 drivers thing is a myth. There's 1 driver, that's it. There are 2 engines, which is why people say you need 2 drivers, 1 for turning left, 1 for turning right. But in reality, the combat crew is 3 people: driver, gun commander, and gunner.
In fact, each of those engines powers 4 wheels on its own side.
Безпосередньо сидить навідник.
2 ZIL engines, upgraded. Each one powers a side, 4 wheels each. One motor runs the left side, the other runs the right.
You could call the Uragan the Soviet muscle car of rocket artillery. Despite its massive weight, it moves with surprising speed.
Up to 100 kilometers per hour. Yeah, we've hit 80 to 90 on dry dirt roads. Out in the fields, about 60. It's fast. This thing's like a rabbit. The faster you drive, the longer you live.
Every member of the 3-person crew works as fast as possible. No one wants to spend a second longer than necessary at a firing position, not when Russian drones are circling overhead like vultures.
When we roll up to the firing position, the gun commander sets the firing direction. As the driver, I have to get there, close in, release the launcher, unlock the ramp. Then the gun commander and I jump out and deploy the rear stabilizer legs, while the gunner gets the ramp into combat position.
A remote control panel helps the crew quickly switch between travel and firing setups.
This is the control panel. It lets you move the ramp from firing position to transport mode, and back again.
This same panel also unleashes the system's massive 220mm rockets, which scorch everything they touch.
Here's the fire control panel. You can fire single rounds or in salvos. This is the trigger, and here you see the round counter. How many have been fired?
This crew's work hasn't been in vain. They've managed to hit not just vehicles, but some seriously valuable targets.
One time we hit a column, took out their command post too. That was a good one.
But the launcher's age works against it. Mechanical issues and wear make it difficult to maintain high operational tempo.
It's a solid and reliable system, but it's got its issues, mainly its age. It really needs to be upgraded. There were times we'd go out twice a day and fire. Mostly we try to hit them before they even reach this area.
To keep the Uragan running, it needs constant maintenance, and that burden falls on the shoulders of the field repair crews. These teams are held in high regard by the frontline troops.
These are people we deeply respect. We take our hats off to them. They're with us day and night. If anything breaks down, they're on it. Without them, we're going nowhere.
Alongside the BM27 Uragan, Ukraine also fields another iconic Soviet relic, the BM21 Grad. Its combat tactics are similar to the other launchers we've talked about earlier. But we discovered something interesting: how the Grad crew counters Russian tube artillery.
We just fired at 2 positions to suppress enemy artillery. Our recon tracked the firing points, so we launched 2 rockets to shut them down.
The biggest drawback of Soviet gear today? Ammo shortages. After the collapse of the USSR, Ukraine has had to scrape together whatever remains it can find and conserve every round. Because of that, crews are forced to sharpen their accuracy and treat every single shot with absolute responsibility.
It's pretty hot on our section right now. The Russians have gone on the offensive. They've got more resources, more men, more ammo. We have to save what we've got. We've learned to aim the Grad properly over time. Now we try to make every round count. Minimal ammo, maximum impact.
What surprised our team most was that this particular BM21 Grad crew operates without a gunner, something that's more of an exception than a rule.
We don't take a gunner. It's wasted space. There's just not enough room in the vehicle to bring extra people. And besides, it's about protecting lives. 2 people work the combat vehicle, plus 2 more, the battery senior officer and the guy on the compass. So only 4 people total.
Surprisingly, running short one crew member hasn't slowed them down. In fact, this team prides itself on their speed in combat.
Just so you understand, we've been here for a year. We've got all the tree lines zeroed in. We try to work fast, so drones don't spot us while we're moving, and so we're not hit while we're setting up. Speed is everything.
But in practice, their daily grind doesn't look as flashy as the fireballs on camera. Every successful strike comes with real risk. These guys almost didn't make it back after the Russians opened fire on them, and they were carrying a full ammo load. A single piece of shrapnel could have set off the entire vehicle.
We hit the target, then we're driving to another one, and as we're on the way, shells start landing where we're headed. That's a horrible feeling. Happened just yesterday. We hit the target, we're coming back, and suddenly a new coordinate pings in. We have to loop back. We pull up 50 meters from the next position, and boom, a round lands. We stop, turn around, drive 50 meters more, and a shell hits the hill right behind us. That hill saved us. If it hadn't been there, we'd be gone.
Another brutal challenge? Physical labor. These guys load the Grad manually. No equipment. That's 40 rockets per reload. No, they don't weigh like feathers, but they keep it light, cracking jokes that with this kind of daily lifting, there's no need for a gym membership.
It's all manual labor. Takes about 30 minutes to reload this system. With tube artillery, you just load and fire. Here, you drive in, sweat it out while you reload, then you launch your full ammo load in 20 seconds and start again. You've got to be in good shape for this.
None of these systems, not the RM70 Vampire, APR40, Uragan, or Grad, can match the pinpoint accuracy of American HIMARS or M270. But that doesn't stop these crews from squeezing every last drop of effectiveness out of what they've got. Most of the time, they lay down concentrated fire over entire sectors, wiping out Russian fortifications. Some soldiers manage to land precise hits on high-value targets with single shots. But that's the exception, not the rule. These are old machines, and ideally, Ukraine should fully replace them with modern NATO artillery systems. But for now, that's not an option, so they do what they can under the old English motto, "A gentleman works with what he's got." Would you like to see more MLRS content on our channel? Maybe about HIMARS, M270, or even Ukrainian DIY rocket launchers on pickup trucks? Pick your favorite or drop your own idea in the comments.